this one's wife, queen of victims. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There is no doubting that this one's wife regards herself as a queen. However, she will not be best pleased to learn that the latest title that she has acquired is to be seen as the Queen of Victimhood. And furthermore, this appears in the New York Times, which ordinarily is seen as pro-Sussex leaning. Are they waking up to the idea that she operates on victimhood, a central tenet of the nature of the narcissist? This took place in an interview between Ross Douthat and May Mailman. If you're not familiar with who May Mailman is, she's an American political advisor and attorney who served as Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Policy Strategist from January to August 2025. She served in the Trump administration. She served as the Deputy Solicitor General of Ohio from 2021 to 2023. In the interview, she makes an interesting observation. And to ensure that you have the appropriate context, I'm going to start the article from the beginning, which is talking about the concept of cancel culture and the strategy behind Trump's crackdown on academia. We're not getting into the politics of all of that, but it's important for the purpose of context not to take the quote in itself, but to help you understand the context within which it was stated. Right now, people are arguing about whether cancel culture is back, this time coming from the right. It certainly looks as if the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel and other controversies are examples of a conservative revenge for the great woke cancellations of 2020 and 2021. But I really think that you need to understand the conservative cultural strategy much more in terms of institutions than celebrity individuals. Long before the Charlie Kirk assassination, the Trump White House saw a once-in-a-generation opportunity to try to push America's cultural institutions, movie studios, and TV networks meaningfully to the right. This week, this is the journalist, want to talk about the most significant of these efforts, more important even than the late-night TV wars. That effort is the administration's attempt to change elite academia, the way big universities admit students, hire faculty members, handle free speech debates, and much more. My guest, May Mailman, is the perfect person to discuss the Trump administration's strategy because she's been in charge of it. The interviewer states, May Mailman, welcome to Interesting Times. Thanks for having me. So, I want to start with a big picture question. Tell me, what is wrong with the American university? Mailman replies, I don't think it's every university, but I would say the biggest one that comes for me is a culture of victimhood, a glorification of victimhood that is ultimately bad for Western civilization and bad for the country. You can notice it in little pieces, like when Justice Kavanaugh was going through his confirmation hearings, the need for grievance sessions, the need for colouring books, the amount of emotional support people needed to suffer through Trump's electoral victory. And I think that there's this culture that universities have been perpetuating as well. Maybe I call it Meghan Markle syndrome, where, like, the greatest good, the greatest height that you can be, is a victim. So I think that's one thing. Pausing there, Meghan Markle syndrome. So this individual highlights the concept of victimhood as basically being Meghan Markle syndrome. But there's some more. And then pieces of it trickle down to racism in admissions, racism in hiring. You're hiring people to do things based on their identity rather than their ability. But I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to a glorification of victimhood. What do you think universities are teaching their students that they're victims of? Asks the journalist. Mailman replies, it's not necessarily that they are victims, but that they should be victims. That it's good to be a victim. That in admissions, what's it better to be? It's better to be in a minority class, whether that's a sexual minority class, whether that's a racial minority class. There's something better to being underrepresented, to being somehow downtrodden, that should be treated as preferential or better. That type of behaviour is not only illegal, you can't treat people differently on the basis of their race, but it's harmful for so many reasons beyond that. You just want the best people, no matter what they look like. The type of students that you obviously want diversity, and I think Justice Thomas, when he's talking about this, he's in favour of diversity, not aesthetics. But the whole idea of treating people differently based on whether they are oppressed or oppressors, and if it's seen as Meghan Markle, why does she want to appear like a victim? Because then she's special. There's something good about the Queen not liking you, because you can then be a victim. The journalist states, well, I'm not sure it's actually worked out that well for her, to which Mailman replies, she has a TV show, and the journalist agrees, she does have a TV show. Accordingly, this piece in the New York Times causes her to be synonymous with the cult and concept of victimhood. Naturally, being the victim is central to who the narcissist is. It is this concept of being the victim which causes the narcissist to act in the way that they do. Certain narcissists make much more of victimhood than others. This one's wife is a clear proponent of that victimhood. Let's just take a trip down memory lane to look at some of the examples. The Oprah Winfrey interview in March 2021, where she claimed she was silenced by the royal family, suicidal due to a lack of support, and that Archie's skin colour was questioned. She also, in that interview, claimed that she was trapped in the palace for months, unable to leave or see friends due to media scrutiny. She also played the victim where she said that Catherine made her cry days before her wedding. The fact that Archie was denied a prince title due to racial concerns, which of course ignored the 1917 royal protocol that excludes great-grandchildren unless direct heirs. Once again, playing the victim. She played the victim with regard to highlighting fears for her family's safety after stepping back from royal duties, portraying the royals as neglectful. In the Harry and This One's Wife docuseries in December 2022, she stated that she was the victim of envy from William and Kate, plus institutional racism. Furthermore, in Netflix, she detailed her suicidal ideation and feeling unsupported, whereby she turned everything into victimhood. Indeed, sane charity founder Marjorie Wallace told her to stop playing the victim. Furthermore, in interviews, she's portrayed her father as absent and harmful, amid lawsuits from her half-sister, again perpetuating her victim narrative. And the South by Southwest panel on online toxicity in March 2024, she complained about cruel cyberbullying, especially during pregnancies. Again, never missing an opportunity to play the victim. In a Women's Day speech on cyberbullying in 2024, she described hateful online attacks as not catty, it's cruel, positioning herself as a target. She was reinforcing perpetual victimhood. On the CBS Sunday Morning interview in August 2024, she again cited personal bullying experiences, once again perpetuating the victim narrative. She stated in the interview in Africa, nobody's asked if I'm okay. Again, maintaining the image of a victim. And those are just a handful of instances where she has done this. And time again, she has held herself out as being the victim of cyberbullying, being the most bullied woman on the internet, the victim of racism, the victim of lack of support when she was feeling suicidal, that she was picked on, that she's basically hated on, that it's not fair, that she has always been the recipient of prejudicial treatment. It isn't the case that she sits there and thinks to herself, I will play the victim, I know that I'm not. She actually does think that she is, because as an unaware narcissist, her narcissism revises situations through the distortion field of her narcissism to ignore any antagonism by her and to view any reaction or response or criticism by anybody else as being the start of the problem. In many instances, it is this one's wife's behaviour that is the catalyst for somebody criticising her, pointing out a problem in her behaviour, demonstrating that she's out of line. But what her narcissism does is it deletes the initial act or behaviour that she commits and focuses on the reaction or response of another person as the starting point. Accordingly, it's a little bit like this one's wife going up to Catherine, punching her. Catherine then punches her back by way of self-defence. And then this one's wife cries, saying, Catherine hit me first. Because that's what her narcissism tells her has happened. It does seem extraordinary that someone can so blatantly lie. But she does it with ease, because as I've told you before, her lies are her truth. The distortion field of her narcissism deletes her initial act, causing her to truly believe that it was Catherine that started the fight. And therefore, when she's criticised for her behaviours, her narcissism interprets that as unjustified hate, that she has done nothing wrong and that people are just picking on her because they're racist. Thus, she is the victim. When she doesn't get her own way, her narcissism revises history to suggest that she wasn't given any support because she had suicidal ideation. Thus, she is the victim. She wasn't well and nobody helped her. That's because they're awful human beings. When she hands her passport over, because that's done for the purposes of ensuring that the document is looked after, not to isolate her, her narcissism, in needing to provoke a reaction and assert control, brings up that from the past and portrays it as an act of victimization against her. It conveniently weeds out from the narrative the fact that she was able to fly backwards and forwards a number of times, including going to somebody's baby shower. The narcissism deletes that from the record and just tells her, they took away your passport and effectively kept you a prisoner at the palace. You are a victim. And now, that victim mentality, which many people can see, has been spoken about in the New York Times, and a high-level advisor sees it as Meghan Markle syndrome, that there is this prevailing problem amongst academia and other aspects within society, in this instance spoken about in the United States, which is embodied by the behaviour of this one's wife. That the idea is, if you're a victim, that makes you special, and this one's wife has been the chief proponent of that. Naturally, this one's wife won't accept this. She will reject it. But she is the queen of victims. She has played on her victimhood time and time again because her narcissism drives her to do it. And many people are sick and tired of such a prevailing attitude of victimhood being pervasive in society as a whole. And for this one's wife, there is the ultimate criticism. She is seen as the poster girl, as the queen of the victims. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.